All right, good evening. I'd like to open the July 11th meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission. We'll take roll call. Haley.
Here.
Jim.
Here.
Ken.
Here.
Paul.
Yes, here.
Peter. I don't see Peter yet. Teresa.
Here.
Okay. All right, first up is the approval of the minutes from June 20th. Any questions about those minutes? And if not, this, Peter. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes for June 20th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 30th.
20th.
Second.
Okay, and any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes for June 20th? Haley.
Yes.
Jim.
I wasn't there for those.
Okay. Ken.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
And Teresa.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. All right, next up is DEP 313630. That is 9 Woodville Circle. Public hearing notice of intent for the construction of a garage addition and new paved driveway within a buffer to bank and within the riverfront. Is the applicant here?
John
Yes, sir.
Ogren, he's engineering.
Hello, John.
We're here representing, hello. And Mike Picardi, who is the homeowner, is also here tonight. Just to kind of go
Good
through.
evening.
Good evening.
If I can share my screen.
Please do.
Just to orientate yourself, this property is located at 9 Woodville Circle. Woodville Circle is located near Woodville School, which is right over here. It's located off of Farm Street and it's near Water Street. And this property actually backs up to the Mill River. So in terms of what's existing on the lot, there's an existing driveway to the right of the house. There's an existing house. There's an existing, pretty much the majority of the remainder of the lot is lawn area.
John, can I just ask you, can you enlarge in that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
Thank you.
So this is the driveway, existing dwelling. There's some concrete pad areas, there's a shed out back. As I said, the Mill River is basically the center line, and Mill River is the property line for this property. And essentially the remainder of this property is basically lawn. In terms of resources, there's what we've identified as a top of bank, which is the top of bank for the Mill River. We're using that essentially as the start of the riverfront area. If you go 100 feet from that top of bank, that's essentially this darker line here. As you can see, it essentially pretty much the entire lot is located within that first 100-foot riparian zone. As far as other resource areas, there is FEMA AE zone, 100-year flood. It's identified as elevation 56, and that's that blue line here. So what's being proposed? We're proposing an addition, which is a driveway with a room above. So the proposed driveway, which would be added to the end of the existing house, and then the proposed driveway to that garage area. Let's see. I should also note too, I should have noted this too. This edge of lawn, it's kind of defined by right at the top of bank. You see this line with the X's and the dash. That's basically a 4-foot high chain link fence. So pretty much this 4-foot chain link fence defines the edge of the bank or the top of the bank, and it's lawn right up to that fence itself. We're basically looking at resulting in a disturbance of about 2,410 square feet in the riverfront area. All the proposed activities are within areas that are essentially disturbed or lawn areas. We did submit, as part of the submittal, a alternatives analysis. But essentially, the alternatives analysis was, to look at putting the addition in different locations, to the right of the house or in front of the house, or even in back of it. But even putting in any of those locations, there's obviously issues in terms of setbacks to property lines and moving it around. Although these areas out front would be close further from the river, it's still in the riverfront area itself. In terms of impervious area, we're increasing the addition and the driveway are about 1,575 square feet. The removal of these concrete pad areas is about 520 square feet. So the net increase in impervious is about 1,055 square feet.
John, what about the existing driveway? That's going to remain also?
That's remaining, correct.
Why is that?
The owner would still like to utilize it. I believe he actually likes to play basketball in the back area here, so he would like for that to remain.
John, where you've got the notation requires variance, and then it shows 40 feet. What do you have for a distance off the corner of the proposed addition to the blue line?
Yeah,
Top of
you would be correct that, well, it would, to the green line would be the top of bank, so we would, this will have to go before the zoning board of appeals for a variance for the 50 feet from the bank. So it would be the setback from this green line to this corner, which is approximately 28 feet.
Yeah. And there's no work to be done. Where's your erosion control? The black dots and the little.
Yeah, black dots with the dashed lines.
Yeah, the black dots are the erosion control.
Okay,
So that's essentially erosion control and limited work.
yep.
Are there any proposed improvements to the riverfront area?
The only improvements that we're proposing, like I said, is the removal of these concrete pad areas.
And did you submit anything showing how you meet the standards of riverfront redevelopment?
This wouldn't qualify as a redevelopment because the areas are not degraded, devoid of topsoil.
Yeah.
These would be disturbed areas, not degraded areas.
And so did you submit something, and I'm sorry, to show how you met the riverfront standards? Forget about redevelopment. I know you did for another project, but
Yeah, like I said, this would not fall under the redevelopment. This would not be considered a redevelopment.
So even if it's not a redevelopment, can we just review what the standards are? when you're
right, and
building?
how you meet those standards, right?
To just talk about the rules in general, then we can apply the rules to the facts of the case here.
Well, this would fall under disturbed areas as this. Well, let me read. One of the criteria is looking for alternatives on a single family house lot, as we've shown and as we've described in the submitted notice of intent. You know, the alternatives, the practical alternatives is limited to the lot for activities associated with the construction or expansion of a single family house on a lot recorded on or before August 1st, 1996, which this is. Any alternatives considered for this lot must be practical and substantially equivalent economic. And must include alternatives which are economically viable for the proposed use, for the site location, project configuration with the site, and the scope of the project. Again, as I stated, the entire house and driveway are within the inner riverfront area, so is really limited in terms of what other alternatives there are.
But so you're adding, I'm sorry, so where the proposed addition and proposed driveway, right now, that's grass?
Yeah, the area in here where the
The pro-
proposed driveway in addition is.
Proposed, yeah, those, yeah, proposed.
Yeah, there's actually a stone wall and, I mean, there's a retaining wall in here too, but yes, this is all grassed area.
So you're increasing the impervious surface by the addition and the driveway by how much?
The net is about just over 1,000 square feet.
And you say
When
net
you say
because
the
you're
net,
gonna
what
remove,
oh, so, well, there's a concrete, that existing concrete to be moved is the minus, that's what you're netting? The part about the river?
Right, that's.
That's what
The
you
total
together-
impervious area is 1,575 square feet, we're removing 520 for a net of 1,055 increase.
So, I'm sorry, I just want to go back to the, I'm just a little confused about what the standards are. Assume that this was undeveloped property. What is the general rule about river, in a riverfront, building in a riverfront area? Can we just discuss that? Start with that.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, a scenario like this, the Rivers Act talks about disturbed areas and it talks about which
Previously developed.
doesn't apply. Yeah, previously developed, which would be areas that are paved or devoid of topsoil, which this obviously isn't. It's vegetated, but it's not vegetated in the sense of vegetated in terms of the riverfront and wildlife habitat. It's grass, which does not provide those, does not provide that wildlife benefit that, if it was wooded or, something that's more forested. I think where you're getting at is in, let's see, it's in CMR 10.5843D, it talks about no significant adverse impact and work within 200-foot riverfront areas. The issuing authority may allow the alteration of up to 5,000 square feet or 10% of the riverfront area within the lot, which 5,000 would dictate whichever is greater, on a lot recorded on or before October 6, 1997. Now, number A on that is at a minimum, 100-foot wide area of undisturbed vegetation is provided. Well, obviously we can't provide that in this case. So this is an existing lot that's already within that 100-foot buffer.
Yeah.
You already have okay. I'm just having a hard time understanding how all these rules apply. The reason I wanted to say if this lot was were recorded when you said it was, and assume it had not been built on, what would have been the rule? What you could build?
Well, then, I mean, there's a different set of rules for a lot that's created after the, what was it, 1997.
But let's assume the lot was recorded undeveloped before then.
Right, you would only be allowed to alter up to
5,000.
10% of the riverfront area.
Okay, so you've built on that. So so the existing property is, I'm just having a hard time understanding why this applies to an addition. When you already have a home. I mean, this is meant to facilitate construction on, on a recorded lot. There's already a house on the recorded lot. That's what I'm trying to understand is because that would sort of imply that you can come back every time you want to do an addition and say we have the right to do an addition 3 years from now, right? I'm just trying to understand the rules.
Yeah,
I mean, essentially, yes, but I guess it comes down to, the commission making a determination that there's no significant impacts, and one of the criteria is, stormwater management, which just doesn't apply because it's a single family home.
Yeah, but don't we apply? Okay, I'm having, maybe I'm.
But you could provide some stormwater management if there was, as a means to do something. Like, I mean, Caltech chamber or something, or pick up the gutter, the roof gutters or something like that.
That's something we could do, yes.
So just to
It's a-
clarify, are you saying it's previously developed but not degraded?
Right, it's not
No,
No, I'm
degraded.
saying it's disturbed. It would be technically be disturbed.
Mhm. So, okay,
So again, are you looking at 1050, 10.58, John? What are you looking at?
1058-43D. And I'm not saying that this fits into a nice box, you know.
It doesn't.
John, what elevation was the river at? What was the water in the river? In the middle?
So I'm sorry, I'll let you answer that, but then I want to read from the regulation as boring as that is.
It looked like when we were out there was about elevation 52.
Okay,
So again, you just have to meet the burden of proof. So the presumption where, again, this is 10.583, right? Where a proposed activity involves work within the riverfront area, the issuing authority shall presume that the area is significant to protect the private or public water supply, to protect groundwater, to protect flood control, to prevent flood damage, to prevent pollution, to protect land containing shellfish, to protect wildlife habitat, and to protect fisheries. The presumption is rebuttable and may be overcome by a clear showing that the riverfront area does not play a role in any of the protections of any one or those interests. So I don't know how you overcome that presumption. Again, John, all we're asking you to do is to show how this complies with the regulations that apply. And you're not doing a great job of doing that.
and then in the heart.
You're just saying, here's the project, here's what we want to do, but that's nice. But again, our job is to apply the regulations. So you're not
And I'm-
showing us how you overcome that presumption. You're not showing us anything.
Well, no, we did an alternatives analysis and we ran through in the notice of intent, we ran through, there's actually A, B, C, and D. We ran through each of those criteria. One of them, as I said, was stormwater management. The other was the 100-foot wide area of undisturbed vegetation. But again, that's not physically possible on this property. C is proposed work does not impair the capacity of the riverfront area to provide important wildlife habitat. So what it's saying is that by adding this addition, is that gonna, from the existing conditions, is that gonna somehow have some impact on the wildlife habitat functions of this land area?
yeah.
John, do you have the NOI quickly available? We can run through that commentary.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't have it in electronic format, unfortunately.
Ken, do you have that?
I do. I'll pull it up. Can you see it?
I think John has to
I
stop
gotta
sharing.
stop. I'm sorry. Yep, I
Yeah.
am stopping. Yeah, it's on page 4 of the narrative.
Sorry about scrolling. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Keep going a little further.
So here's the alternatives analysis.
Keep going. It's on page 4. It's the last. Yeah. This is the no significant adverse impact. And as part of part A, it states that the requirement of A may be allowed only if the applicant demonstrates that a preponderance of evidence from a competent source that the area of undisturbed vegetation within the overall average width of 50 feet will provide equivalent protection of the riverfront area, but that the partial rebuttal of the presumption of significance is sufficient to justify the lesser area of the undisturbed vegetation. But again, this is an area that's already been disturbed, and that's why this does apply, and this is what the section that it would be under, but it really doesn't address a situation like this.
John, is the grass right up to the edge of the river? Or top bank?
It's right up to the bank, yes, right up to that fence, which is right at the top of bank.
So basically, we're replacing a lawn with a building. With a garage or what addition
Correct.
And driveway.
and the proposed driveway, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna want to do a site walk, but I think you'd want to look at recharging. If you've got the proper depth of soil before groundwater.
Yeah, we can look to add some infiltration for the roof runoff.
Rebecca, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I have actually a bunch of questions. One of them was that, John, you were talking about that fence that's along the top of bank. I think that was probably put up when in that behind the house, there used to be a pool. And so my assumption is when they put in the pool, they put up the fence. I don't have any previous filings for this lot. So they didn't, when they put in the pool, and then I think they subsequently filled in the pool. And I didn't have any information on it. No one ever filed anything. So I'm wondering, that fence that's there, it wouldn't have met the requirements of a minor project because it's not 50 feet away. And it didn't, it most likely, did you say it was chain link to the ground?
Yes.
Okay. So it would have probably prevented wildlife passage. I'm wondering, is the homeowner still interested in keeping that fence there if there's no longer a pool?
I'm indifferent towards it. I mean, it can go, it can stay.
Okay. That was one question. I had a couple. And then there's a shed back there with a well. Is that a well? If you could scroll up a little bit. And if it is a well,
There
is
is.
that just for like irrigation or what's that for?
Yes, ma'am, irrigation.
Okay. I don't have any information on the shed or the well either. I don't know when that shed was put up there. I'm guessing between like 95 and 2000, I think. So I just wasn't sure about what was going on over there with that well and the shed. And then I had another question. All right, that would have been for Libby a little bit more, but yeah, thank you. Zooming out. So can you see, actually go to the lot line that's mostly to the west down by the road. So go down a little bit. All right. So to the left where it says edge of lawn, and then on the next lot over it slopes downward. Do you know if Libby, I know that's not the property there, but do you know if Libby looked to see if there was wetland over there? Because on one of the aerials that I have, it looks like it wraps around. And I'm just wondering if that would have, if she noted how close it would have been to something there. Not expecting her to go on anyone else's property, just wondering if she noticed it when she was over there.
Yeah, I don't believe Libby went over there and looked in terms of the wetlands, no.
Yeah, that's the spot. All right, well, we can take a peek at that when for a site visit anyway. I was just curious. And then I was gonna offer Teresa to go through the riverfront with you. If you want, I can try to pick out the topics 1, 2, 3, 4 type of thing, and we can go through some of it pretty quick.
That'd
if
be
you think
great,
that'd be
Rebecca.
helpful.
I think that would be helpful, yes.
That
So
would be extremely helpful. I feel like we're starting for 3 of a story. I'm sorry. I want to go back to chapter 1 and say, what are the regulations that are pertinent to building in a riverfront? Thank you.
well, I think what John was saying was that when you have a project that is within the riverfront, but it's not degraded being with those impervious surfaces, even though it's developed, it still kind of falls under that initial category, something similar to a new development. So they have you go through all of the sort of requirements under, what is it, 4?
Mhm.
4.
Yes, I want to look at these.
So you run through those. So some of those are pretty easy. So starting with number 1, it just says the protection of other resources. Well, they don't seem to be doing any work in any other resources. So I think you've already satisfied number 1. Number
Which
2 is,
regulation? Yeah, I'm sorry. Finally, I had.
I'll tell you where it is.
What?
Do you have your regs in front of you?
It's
Yeah,
10,
I do.
10.5834.
Okay, thank you.
So number 4, general performance standards. Let me know when you get that.
I'm sorry, it's just 4, sorry.
That's all right. We're going, so it's 4, and then we're going to start with A, which is the protection of other resource areas, which they're not doing work in any other resource area. So we're just going to move right past that one, right?
Mhm.
And then we're going to go to B, which is the protection of rare species. I don't believe there are any rare species here, so we're okay with that one. Number C is where it starts. C and D are where the majority of the conversations typically lie. And what that is, so C says the practicable and substantially equivalent economic alternative. So under that, they talk about a number of categories. So they define what is practicable. They talk about, there's a bunch of different things, existing cost, existing technology, the proposed use, and the logistics. So all of those 4 items fall under whether or not it's practicable, and that's the first part of letter C. You see that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay, so then you could go through that, and it's practicable if it is available and capable of being done when you take into consideration cost, technology, use, and logistics. So then you should go through each one of those: the cost, the technology, the use, and the logistics. So then you can go through those we can go through those. And then I think I have that somewhere.
Are you guys looking at the ones on the online regulations, and which page are you on?
I have a book.
There are no page
Yeah.
numbers.
I printed them
Yeah,
out.
they are. They're at the top. They're online. They're at the top. There's 246 pages.
Oh, I'm in 229, Peter.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just struggling. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. I'll wait for you.
All right, thank you. I just want to start out by, I just feel like I'm on chapter 3.
Thing is, Rebecca, this has to do whether or not alternatives are practicable. I mean,
Yeah, alternatives to what? That's what-
the alternative is not to build something. I mean,
Yes,
because wherever you build it's within 100 feet. I mean,
Yes,
that's it's not an issue of, gee, can we build a house anywhere else? There is a
that's
house.
right. That's
And the
right.
issue is whether or not you should be able to build an addition and a new driveway in an area that's riverfront that the regulations govern. I mean, that's the issue. I don't know how you could ever have a practical alternative when you're doing it within, when you're doing it within the 100 feet, within the
Right.
200 feet. So
Right,
for that
That's
matter,
that's kind of what I'm getting at, is it's sort of, if you
there's
start
no
with the assump-
alternative.
if you
The
start with the
alternative is to do
assumption that,
nothing.
if you start with the assumption that the addition is allowed, and
Right.
then there's a question of what is the most practicable way of making the addition, that begs the question completely.
Right.
All I want to do is understand this. I just want to go through the language, because I'm missing something here. Something doesn't seem right to me, and I don't know, and I feel it's my fault for not understanding this better.
Rebecca, what would you say, how is, there could be a practical alternative, because again, there's no alternative, because no matter what you do, it's gonna be within 100 feet.
An
I mean,
alternative, okay, yeah.
There is
So,
no alternative.
I know what you're saying. I don't disagree.
Okay.
I think when you run through these things, it's, if this, for instance, if this lot were a wooded lot, and I think this is what John was alluding to before, or actually said, that you could then require them to maintain that 100-foot zone, or set it back as far, you're supposed to set it back as far as possible. But again, you're saying set back away from the river as far as possible, right? So that's one of the requirements. So, but setting it further back, you're saying you're still within the 100-foot, so it's not really, and there's no difference,
You
right?
can't do anything, right?
Right. And what John was saying is, like, if there were natural vegetation there, then you would
But-
set it
but
back
there
and
isn't.
maintain. Right,
But
right,
there
right. That's the thing. But there's not. So you really just have to go through and, let's see. You would go through. I think this is what John was, I was just trying to go through it because you guys seem to want to do it very methodically. So I was literally going.
We
through.
do.
Okay. So why don't we just continue on and then.
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, that's okay. So you go through, all of those are under your practicable, right? And then the next you have is your scope of alternatives. And then this is where, let me look at this. Hold on one sec. There was that list. I think, John, you were talking about scope of alternatives. Yeah, the purpose of evaluating to locate so that impacts to the riverfront are avoided. As much of a project as possible must be outside of the riverfront. If it's not feasible for the entire project to be outside, the project should be as far away as possible. And then no significant impact. And this is what John was talking about. And this is 4D1. So go through all there, and then you have your evaluation alternatives, and then you have your no significant impacts, right? So it says in the 200-foot riverfront, you may allow an alteration up to 5,000 or 10%, whichever's greater, provided that a minimum 100-foot wide is undisturbed. We don't have that. If there is no 100-foot wide undisturbed in the riverfront, existing vegetative cover shall be preserved or extended to the maximum extent feasible to approximate a 100-foot wide corridor of natural vegetation. I suppose that's the only one you could discuss, John, that one for.
But that doesn't exist right now.
No, it says if there is no 100-foot wide area of undisturbed vegetation in the riverfront, existing vegetative cover shall be preserved or extended to the maximum extent feasible to approximate a 100-foot wide corridor of natural vegetation. Well, you certainly can't do that. That, like you mentioned, it'd be the whole lot, but that doesn't mean preserved or extended to the extent feasible.
Right.
Stormwater doesn't apply because they're single family. I would say it's unlikely that they would require a wildlife habitat evaluation. If work in an undeveloped riverfront is greater than 5,000, you may require, but we're not going to do that. Let's see, no impairment of groundwater or surface water quality. And I think that's probably it.
I think, yeah, the last one is the sediment controls, which,
Where's that one? Oh, sorry, I got distracted by no erosion and sediment controls required to prevent that one non-point source of pollution. But you seem to always have erosion controls. I think I've stopped looking for those because that seems pretty standard now. So I guess the way I look at it is the only one that you would discuss really is 4D1B.
What about it? What, B is,
Yeah, what about A, exactly?
yeah. On page 233, Rebecca, no significant adverse impact.
Yep,
At a minimum, 100-foot wide area of undisturbed.
yep,
If there is not,
Yeah.
existing cover shall be preserved. Well, instead, we're adding 1,000 square feet of impervious surface here, right?
That is the one I'm talking about. Did I comment on it wrong? I got it from the DEP.
It's D1A.
Oh, I thought that's what he said. Did I say B?
Yeah,
Okay.
Well,
So-
yeah, but you would consider grass lawn undisturbed vegetation within a riverfront. It is
If
disturbed.
there is not a 100-foot wide area of undisturbed
but it is
vegetation.
vegetative cover.
So it should be preserved.
It's not, I don't know, if there's not a 100-foot wide area of
Not native vegetation, it's not natural vegetation, but it is vegetative cover.
But it says preserved or extended to the maximum, so go with extended. And
Right.
you're not proposing anything having to do with, you're not proposing, for example, that there's 1,000 feet you're adding, that you're adding 1,000 feet of, in that area of natural vegetation. You're not doing anything. You're not doing anything to lessen the impact of having that. Nothing.
John, do you know the percent of the riverfront area on the lot that is developed already? So how much of this lot already has? prior?
Well, I mean, no, I don't have the exact number, but it's a 12,000 square foot lot. So, you know, it's probably close to, 11,000 square feet of it is that within the 100 foot. Within the riverfront area, the entire lot is within the 200 feet.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just wondering how much of that riverfront, how much on the lot, how much of the lot is, it's all on the riverfront, so 12,000 square feet. How much of that, like in a percentage wise of the lot is,
Developed,
yes,
How much of the lot is what, Rebecca?
developed,
Developed.
because it is all on the
not
river.
vegetated.
Yeah, you could say that. That's a better way of saying it.
Can you guys, I just shared my screen. I don't know if you can see that.
No.
We're still seeing the drawing.
John, wanna stop yours
Okay,
again?
here we go.
Go ahead, I stopped it.
Yep, I see it.
So if you look at this thing, and Paul, thank you, it's page 233 for anyone who's looking at the 246 pages of regulations. If you do it on the internet, you get page numbers and it's a godsend. Says that, so this D is the work, including proposed mitigation measures, must have no significant adverse impact. Then it says within the 200-foot riverfront areas, which we are in, we may allow alteration of up to 5,000 square foot provided that at a minimum 100-foot wide area of undisturbed vegetation is provided. Well, that ain't happening here, so it doesn't meet that. And then at a minimum, this would shall extend, if there's not 100 feet of undisturbed vegetation within the river, existing vegetative cover shall be preserved or extended to the maximum extent feasible to approximate a 100-foot wide corridor. Replication and compensatory storage required to meet the resource area performance standards are allowed within this area. Temporary impacts. Okay.
That's just what Rebecca went through, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So it looks to me like, yeah. All right. But this D seems like does this seem like the nub of it right here? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So it's just good to have the language right in front of us. So for anyone who's looking at the regs on the internet, it's page 233 of 246, and those are at the very top in the top ribbon.
Rebecca provided us a cheat sheet as well that lays this out.
Okay. So there's circumstances where we're allowed to do this, but there's certain showings that have to be made, right? So the starting point is that there's some license here, but only in circumstances where generally there's 100-foot wide, there's 100 feet of undisturbed vegetation.
Don't have.
Doesn't look like we get there.
If there's not 100-foot wide, existing shall be preserved or extended to the maximal extent to approximate that. Replication and compensatory storage.
Just to clarify, quick question, the existing driveway is staying?
Yes,
Yeah,
Is that green?
well, that is the
That-
proposal for the existing driveway to stay, yes.
So essentially, there'll be a driveway on each side of the house now, and a garage with room above on, as we look at this, the left side.
Is that green vegetation between the asphalt areas, property line?
Yeah,
I
the two
believe so.
driveways are adjacent to each other, right?
yeah, it looks like it is right there.
Well,
So what is the square footage of the existing driveway, just out of curiosity? I'm just gonna ask the question as a hypothetical. But if there were just the one driveway, what would that mean for the net, how would that net out? John?
I believe if a portion of the existing driveway is removed, we could essentially net out 0 in terms of impervious area. I mean, it sounds like to me, if I'm, tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like if we look into some recharge of the roof, maybe revisit the impervious area, the amount of impervious area, and potentially look at adding some vegetation along the bank of the river that may go a ways to for the commission to try to move forward with this.
I mean, I think that it's certainly a, good way to look at it. Anybody else have a comment?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have to do something to show why it is that we should allow you to add 1,000 more feet of impervious surface to an area within 100 feet of the river. And so far you haven't done that.
There's 100-foot wide vegetation shall be preserved or extended to the maximum extent feasible to approximate 100-foot wide corridor of natural vegetation.
So it looks like at the top up here, there might be an opportunity to add some vegetation. Can't tell very well from this aerial, but that would be an opportunity.
Why don't we schedule a site visit?
Yeah, we
I
need to
think that's
do
a great
that.
idea. I think we get that, I think we need to see it. I think that's helpful. It's just-
How does-
And it's really hypothetical when you're looking at a map. It's hard to,
What about next Tuesday? Earliest Peter and Teresa, you guys could do is what? If Tuesday works,
we do it 7 o'clock.
yeah.
Let me just look at my calendar. I'm sorry.
I'm away next week, sorry guys.
I'm gonna be out of town starting tomorrow night, but I'll be back Sunday night.
Yeah, I could do Tuesday, the 18th.
Teresa, does that work for you? 7?
Yeah, I'm assuming you don't want to do Sunday night.
Sunday night would, Sunday night I can't do.
No, I
Okay,
can't either.
Ken, Jimmy, anybody
I
else,
am-
7 o'clock, work on, actually,
I
Ken,
am-
you're going away, aren't you?
No, I'll be here next week.
Okay.
So Tuesday, 7 is fine by me.
And so it
That's
sounds like
Tuesday,
everybody
the
but Nate,
18th,
right?
right? Yeah,
Okay,
all right.
Is that
all
okay
right, so
with
we will
John,
plan on
or-
Tuesday at 7 o'clock. And what's that date?
the
That
18th.
works.
18th?
That works for me.
18th, okay.
I'm not gonna plan to stake anything out because I think it's pretty straightforward. It's
it's,
30 feet off the existing house, basically.
Right, no, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll revisit this, and we'll see you on the sidewalk Tuesday night at 7.
Calendar.
All right, we are behind schedule. I believe, John, you're up next anyways, correct? 10 Broadway, DEP 313622, public hearing continued, notice of intent for the construction of a 124-unit multifamily residential building within buffer to bank.
Good evening, John Ogren again. Here to discuss more riverfront area. Let me just. I had sent along. Just to refresh the commission's memory, last meeting, I presented the riverfront area that would impact the site based on the updated USGS maps. We went over that, and then commission asked if we could go through the criteria for degraded areas like we've done on previous sites. So I had submitted that, I think it was yesterday, to Rebecca. I don't know if she was able to forward that on to everyone,
Yeah, actually, I have it right in front of me.
but I'll bring it up on the screen and we can go through it, if that's okay.
Sure, please.
Just really quickly, this is just a snapshot of kind of the area on the site that we're basically focused on. We have the 100-foot buffer zone that's essentially from the bank of Crystal Lake. We have the 100-foot buffer to the inland bank, which is right along the edge of this river. And then we have the 100-foot riverfront area and the 200-foot riverfront area. Based on the definition, this 100-foot, the riverfront area would be perpendicular to the river in this area, not basically 90 degrees off of the end of the pipes. So that's why it looks the way it does. All right. So there's a lot of more background information, just to get back to really the performance standards for riverfront area. Basically, essentially, there's sections A through F, and I can go through each one individually, and we can, if the commission has any questions, certainly answer them. A, at a minimum, the proposed work shall result in an improvement over existing conditions of the capacity of the riverfront area to protect the interests identified in Mass General Law 13140. When a lot is previously developed, but no portion of the riverfront area is degraded, the requirements of 310 CMR 1058-4 shall be met. I think there's no question that on this site, any of the areas that we're talking about is in the riverfront area were degraded. In the existing condition, it's either crushed stone, pavement, or building. So the entirety of the on-site riverfront area is degraded. The project will restore about 1,285 square feet, about 19% of the riverfront area of this previously degraded riverfront area to a vegetated state. This will also, the design will also divert untreated runoff from impervious areas away from the riverfront area. This work will result in an overall improvement over the existing conditions with 963 square feet of pervious areas proposed within the 100-foot riverfront riparian zone. B, stormwater management is provided according to standards established by the department. This project has been designed to comply with the standards set forth in Massachusetts handbook, stormwater handbook. On that note, I want to, we are in the process of, this, as you know, this project has gone through some evolution in terms of number of units, the building, parking. We're working on detail and the final design in terms of layout of the parking and building had been presented to the commission. But we're working on detailed engineering plans and also responses to comments that we received from the engineering department. So those will all be included along with updated stormwater management report and the response to engineering. That should be forthcoming in the next week. So the commission will have that to review. C, within the 200-foot riverfront area, the proposed work shall not be closer to the river than the existing condition, or 100 feet, whichever is less, or not closer than existing conditions within 25 feet, 25-foot riverfront areas, except in accordance with F and G. Existing conditions disturbance include crushed stone riprap right up to essentially the bank. The proposed work associated with the project will restore the existing pavement areas that are within about 8.5 feet from that bank. D, the proposed work, including expansion of existing structures, shall be located outside the riverfront area or towards the riverfront area boundary and away from the river, except in accordance with F and G. The proposed work, including structures and impervious areas located further from the bank of the river than the existing conditions. The applicant is also proposing to comply with the requirements of F and G. E, the area of proposed work shall not exceed the amount of degraded area, provided that the proposed work may alter up to 10% of the degraded area is less than 10% of the riverfront area, except in accordance with F and G. The area of the proposed work does not exceed the amount of degraded riverfront area. Now, in terms of F and G, we're not proposing, I think everyone in agreement that the entire riverfront area is degraded. F and G really only apply if you're taking some areas that are not degraded and paving them or putting buildings or not. We're not doing that as the entire area is already degraded. But we are proposing to remove 963 square feet of pavement within the 100-foot riverfront area and revegetate the area an additional 322 feet of pavement beyond the 100-foot. G, when the application proposes mitigation on site or in the riverfront area within the same area of the river basin, alteration may be allowed, notwithstanding the criteria of at least 2 to 1. As previously indicated, the applicant is not proposing disturbance of non-degraded riverfront area, but the project will restore 19% of the previously degraded riverfront area at the site. Why is that? So that's going through and how we meet the riverfront performance standards.
Anybody have any questions or comments regarding that?
Mhm. John, could you put up that first picture you saw of the latest?
Yeah,
Just want to see it, just to have a.
so essentially what we're saying is, within this riverfront area, there's areas that we pulled back, the pavement is essentially right up to this crushed stone right here. We're pulling that pavement in that area, we're vegetating. And we have a landscaping plan. I will also be submitting an updated version of that. We have a landscaping plan.
Right.
Adding bushes and trees and such in this area. But essentially we're converting this area from degraded to vegetated, this area, and then beyond the 100-foot riverfront area, this area in here.
John, where did you say you stand with the ZBA, or did you not?
It's a good question. I believe we're at a point where, and that's why I finally decided to go forward with the more detailed engineering, is that I believe we've pretty locked in as far as the footprint of the building, the parking layout. They're kind of at this point now, they're talking more about the architectural features or the design of the look of the building itself.
Mhm. So which is the lot line to the property? Where is I'm sorry, because I recall, I thought there was someone else's property between that and the edge of the water. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, it's probably hard to tell, but this thicker dark line,
Yeah,
that's the property line. So there's
okay,
a small portion of the edge of the water on our property.
okay, got it. And where's the other property? What was I looking at? What was I thinking about where you had the other, there was another property owner that had property between the, on the other side of, there was the parking lot and then there was another parcel of property. And maybe that's
Yeah,
just.
there's
maybe-
there's parking lot here. There's a fairly wide crushed stone area in between the two properties.
Mhm.
And then there is parking over here on this adjacent. And then you can kind of see it here. I don't know if you remember, if you looked out towards the lake, there was a building that was there. That's pretty much right along the property line.
Okay.
So there was trucks or machines parked along this area.
Right. This seems like a very unusual, looking at this little isolated piece of water and it's a river,
From a river and wildlife habitat and, corridor standpoint, it seems pretty limited. But there's no criteria as far as value. And under the definition, with the updated USGS, this would qualify as a river.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a thought. John, I assume that when you go before the ZBA, they're going to want to approve the landscaping plan, right? So we've been sort of requiring applicants that have files with us to plant native species within the 100-foot buffer zone. So I don't know specifically. I know you have the landscaping plan. I do have a copy of it. I don't know if you're going to be updating it. But I know for a previous project, someone has to go back to the ZBA because they had an approved plan, and then the commission is going to require native planting, so they have to go back and get that revision. So I'm just saying, if you're still in front of them, assuming, and the commission should answer this, assuming that they're going to implement that same policy of native plantings within their jurisdiction, whatever, I just couldn't see really closely which species these were, but maybe it would save you time and energy if you're not finished with them, to have that sorted out before you finalize with the ZBA. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. We will, we're planning to update the landscaping plan anyways, and I kind of directed the landscape architect in that direction, but I don't know. I will revisit that with him, and
Sure.
and not only in, the riverfront area, I think it would be beneficial, on either sides here,
That'd be great.
to look to be something more native and more wetlands friendly.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, good call out, Rebecca.
John, you're sure the water, that stream only flows away from the lake, right? That's,
Yes, it
That's
flows away from the lake. Do you
okay.
remember we checked that when we were out there?
Okay, I'll be sure.
Yeah, it goes under Broadway, right?
It goes
Yes.
on to Broadway, yes.
And then crosses under the Galvin.
Okay.
Goes to Broadway, under North Ave, under the
Mhm.
DPW.
Okay.
All right. All right, so John, you're looking to continue this until you get some direction from the ZBA, or?
No, I think I would like to continue this, so that the commission has the updated plans. And I think it'd be hopefully looking towards potentially closing at the next hearing. I think the ZBA is going to want to, on this one, is going to want to know that, that we're at closure or close to closure with the Conservation Commission, before they make their final decision.
Okay. All right, so we'll have a landscape plan sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you'll have the updated site plan, site civil set, stormwater management, engineering response, and landscape plan.
Okay, great. All right, anything else on this one? From anybody? And do you want to continue to August 1st?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, thank you. We will continue to August 1st.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca, are you ready to move on?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, next up, we're almost on schedule. DEP 313624 57225 96 North Ave. This is a public hearing continued. Notice of intent for the construction of a 36-unit apartment building within the buffer to BVW. Chris, I see you're here.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, Chris
Good
Sparagus,
evening.
Engineering and Survey Office of Williams and Sparagus. Everyone can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so last time we were together was on June 20th, and we were in the process of scheduling a time where Greg Hockmuth, wetland scientist on the project, could meet with Elaine and Rebecca, and that happened on just recently. And It was on June 28th. They visited the site, walked the site, and there were 4 flags that they identified that were moved a little bit further upslope. If I can just share my screen for a minute.
Yes, please do.
So I'm going to show you, let's see, Greg's sketch, which I think you can see in front of you now. Can you see the PDF with the
Yes.
yellow and red writing? So North Ave is up at the top of the plan here. The wetland line on the site is here. And there are a couple of flags at B27 and B26 that were moved, and then at B21 and B20. You can see here in this cloud, B27 was moved 4 feet up the slope. B26 was moved 6 feet up the slope. B21A, 7.5 feet, and B20A, 8.5. And then there were some instructions about which flags to eliminate, the old flags, and then how to reconnect the remainders. And then what we did was we then updated the site plan. And sometimes I don't know if it switches over to the other plan. Do you see a
It
blank
did.
screen now? Okay, thank you. Let me just zoom in. I'll start up here near North Ave, and you can see the old flags versus the new flags. So B26 was back here, and we moved it up slope a little bit. And then coming down here, B21 was back here. We added a new flag, B21A, a little bit further up the slope. And then you can see here, this was the move between where B20 was and B20A, the new flag. I think that was the last one. So if we were to show you the revised topographic plan, we do have a couple of changes, obviously, to the wetland line and the distance between the wetland line and our proposed limit of work on this plan, B20A, 21A, and then up here, B27 and B26. In addition to the wetland line review, just to close the loop on the landscaping plan, when we presented the landscaping plan at the last meeting on the 20th, that plan didn't have a stamp and signature. It was sort of a formality, but I followed up with our landscape architect, Elliot Brundage, and got Elliot to stamp and sign his plan, and we submitted a stamped and signed version of the plan showing that the plantings within the buffer zone were to be changed to make sure that they were all native species. And so that was also submitted for the record. So that's where we stand right now, Mr. Chairman, since the last meeting. And with me here this evening is the property owner representing the ownership, Dana Lopez. And attorney Jesse Schomer was running a few minutes late. I know he's over at the planning board. And that hearing for him was running a little bit late in Wakefield, but he should be in attendance as well at some point. So I'll turn it back over to the members to see if you folks have any additional questions or concerns that we can answer.
I guess a question for Rebecca. So both you and Elaine were out there.
Yes.
And
Most of it, I had to leave, so I didn't see. We walked, so we're over by the KFC. What is it? The Knights of Columbus? Is that what it is?
yeah, Knights of Columbus, yeah.
Over
to the,
there.
east
Elaine
of
and
that.
I originally had looked at, see where B13 is. And Chris, I don't know if Greg explained what happened over there, why we had assumed a much greater distance is we were going by plants. But when you, although there are wetland plants all in that location that would have qualified it as wetland, when you look at the soils, Greg pointed out that it just didn't quite meet the hydric soils. So we left those flags as is. So that's what would happen over there. And then we walked around and we came back down the other side as opposed to trying to get through all the knotweed, which was terrible. And then, yep, we kind of looked at almost every single flag and he pulled up the soils and we talked about it and looked at it. And this is what we ended up coming up with. One thing I want to point out, and Chris, I wanted to ask you, and also I wanted to tell the commission members, can you pull that up a little bit, that plan, that so you can see the wetland at the bottom of the lot, the line that's like in a U.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
See
Yeah,
that A series there, down there? We never looked at that. So I don't know if you want to take that off the plan. We have not confirmed that. If you want to have that on the plan, I think I would make a note that just says that was unconfirmed because we haven't looked at that line.
sure. We
So,
have another plan that shows it a little bit better. It's a pretty big upland area on the back.
yep,
That we're not proposing to, develop any of that, of course. We'd like to leave it on the plan as a record, but I'd be happy to add a note to say that it wasn't, that A series wasn't confirmed.
yeah, and I would probably write that in the order just so that we have that on record. Also, just say that as part of this line wasn't confirmed. And yeah, if you come back and something else happens and you confirm it later, that's fine. But I did want to point that out, that we didn't look at that.
Okay.
Okay. I guess that's it for me.
All right, so Rebecca, so after, meeting in the field and going through soils, both you and Elaine are now comfortable with the wetland line as presented.
Yes.
Okay.
So what are the distances now from the wetland line to the development? How close are we getting?
Sure. So we on the previous plan and the way we approached the plan was that we tried to maintain no closer than 10 feet. We had a couple of pinch points before, and now there are a couple of flags, and I did prepare a sketch. If you just bear with me just for a second, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I thought maybe this question might come up, so I have a sort of before and after sketch. And I'll share my screen again. Okay, so this is before and after, and I'll start up by North Ave again here. So this line that represents the erosion control line is this the line with the open circles. And so we consider that the limit of work, if you will. And so here is the first wetland flag move. We went from about 17.8 feet to 13.9 feet with that wetland flag moving a little bit here. This was our one previous pinch point that stayed the same. And here are the ones that got a little bit closer here. When this flag was added, it caused a little bit of a weird shape here. And so if you measure the closest distance from our erosion control line to the wetland flag is 7.7 feet now, where it was 15.1 feet. And then similarly, where B20 was moved, you can see that it was 21.1 feet and now it's 12.7.
Chris, that's a wall in that corner, right? That's 7'7" and 12'7".
That's right. Because of the lay of the land and that we have to maintain a certain distance from the estimated seasonal high groundwater table to support our stormwater management area and our parking lot. This is all a modular block wall with it's the larger blocks that are roughly 2 by 4 feet, and they encompass almost the whole downhill part of the site. So there's no access, available for people or vehicles or anything towards the wetland.
So you'll be working
How
on.
high is it?
Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, how high is that?
Sure. So if we, it varies, but let's say over here, for example, we have a couple of elevation identifiers here where we use the letters BW and TW, so bottom of wall and top of wall. So you can see here that the wall is about 6 feet high here.
Yep.
Yep. And then here it's again about 5.5 feet or so.
Okay.
So you'll be doing all the work on the street side of the wall. You won't need any additional room because that erosion control is pretty tight to the wall.
Right. The nice thing about the modular block walls is that these are gravity blocks, and so you don't really need you don't need to dig a footing for it.
Okay,
wood for a poured in place wall. So you just prepare the surface very within 6 inches of the ground, and then you can start laying your blocks. So it's fairly simple in this case to work, close to the erosion control line with this type of wall system.
okay.
Now, the other thing I wanted to add, I heard Rebecca say something earlier that reminded me about the knotweed out here that and this came up at our site walk with the commission members. And I think Greg Hockmuth also talked about it with Elaine and Rebecca, that I think we've committed to a program of eradicating the knotweed between the wetland line and the limit of work out here. And we're committed to try to maintain no knotweed going forward on a regular basis, if it's okay with the commission, since we'd like to plant those trees that we talked about, and to give them a chance to grow. We'd like to try to keep on top of the knotweed.
Yeah, the knotweed goes right out to North Ave. It's pretty much the whole lot.
Yeah.
Did we get a new landscape plan with the change? We
believe we
did with the
did.
change. We saw that last meeting with the change in trees and other species. Do we have a plan for the knotweed control? Have we got anything from you on that? How are you gonna go about it, or?
So nothing formally. We've done that sort of thing on other properties, and we actually have an ongoing contract. For example, with Milton Academy, we are out there I think twice a year to actually perform the removal and the upkeep. So if it makes sense to you and Rebecca, or if you wanted to include as a condition in the order, we'd be happy to submit something that's written that can be reviewed and approved by Rebecca, if that's okay. We have quite a bit of experience doing that.
Yeah, I think that would be valuable.
I would refer it before you guys issue the order of conditions as opposed to a condition.
Why can't we have it now?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a problem. We're happy to provide it. Yep, we can definitely submit it before the order is issued.
Yeah, that'll give us a chance to see what methods will be used and what to expect.
Chris, do you know how many trees are going to be removed in the buffer zone? Is there a tree count? Do you know? And I know.
We
I'm
have
sorry.
not located. We don't typically locate all the trees on a property. It's a pretty labor intensive effort, especially if we know that we're proposing to cut them down. So I don't have that. I don't have a tree count in the buffer zone. No.
Okay. Well, you don't have to survey them, put them on a plan. I was just thinking a count. And then I was gonna, the really big willows. I know Elaine was concerned about those. I think they're over by,
I thought you said the last time they were gonna be preserved.
Yeah, that one near the stream, near the street would be
I know where they are.
preserved.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
out.
I drove by yesterday and I saw at least a couple branches cut down.
I don't think it's realistic to think that those are gonna stay. I think people are gonna be very nervous with those. It's a big old tree.
One of them is really in tough shape.
I can tell you which number it is. Just give me 1 second.
Yep. I think it's over in this vicinity here. Let me go back to our
Yeah, 29 and 26. So
Yeah.
between 26. I'm not gonna say 29.
so this is a 26. I know it's over here somewhere.
Oh,
It was a
26
rather
and
large.
27. Yeah.
It was a rather large willow tree, and we confirmed that it is on the downhill side, or let's call it the tree save side, where we're not proposing any activity. We confirmed that.
There's another one. There are two.
Can you look at trying to trim it out and see if you can save it? I,
Well,
We
you're
can-
not
we
proposing
can.
to take it.
what?
They're not proposing to remove it.
No, I know, but I think it, like Rebecca's saying, I agree, it's probably gonna end up coming out, but there's one big half of the thing is kind of laying on the ground, so I don't know if you cleaned it up a little bit, it might rejuvenate it. It doesn't
So
look like,
yeah, we'd be happy to limb that existing one that we're talking about right now. That's not a problem.
And what is, you mentioned that the wall is to fill so you can get above the groundwater. What's the elevation of the seasonal high groundwater?
So over in our, let's see where I have this information here. Our test holes were done in the vicinity of our stormwater management area.
Mhm.
And we have estimated seasonal high groundwater table up in this area, roughly elevation 81.5. So to put it into perspective, the wetland line is down here roughly elevation 82, 83 down near the wetland line. Where the test holes are up here, the existing ground, oops, went a little bit too far there. The existing ground is roughly elevation 85 to 86. It's relatively flat all through here. And both test holes, we had estimated seasonal high groundwater at 81.5 and 81.6 in our two test holes here.
Thank you.
Finished grade of the parking lot is about 6 feet above that.
so what's the detail look like at the top of this wall? Is it's it's a modular wall, right, of some sort?
It is a modular block wall. They're very large blocks at 24 inches. I
Put a
can
fence
show you
on top?
Yeah, I can show you the detail for it. If I come down here to the detail sheet for the wall, you can see that depending on where it is, the blocks that are closer to the bottom, depending on how tall the wall is, are larger than the ones closer to the top.
Yeah.
And then it's the shape of the concrete block is such that it's scooped out a little bit, which allows you to either use some stone or loam and seed pretty much very, very close to the face of it.
Mhm. And then you're gonna put a fence on top of that?
That's right. We have a detail that that provides for, I think it's 3 different fence slash guardrail combinations, depending on
Yeah.
where you are on the site. If you go over to our layout plan, which is this plan here, and we follow the wall around, it's more of a decorative metal fence around the front area here, where there are some common areas where people can come outside around a couple of gathering areas. And then as you head towards the back, it's a 4-foot tall black chain link fence with a guardrail across this section of the parking lot.
Mhm.
And then along the side that we share with the Knights of Columbus, we actually are installing a taller fence at 6 feet high and opaque because the neighbors that live just down the street, I believe the next street down is it Wilton or Walcott? So on the other side of the Knights of Columbus, there are some single family homes, and there was a concern about what that view looked like. And so we have a 6-foot high fence along this property line. The zoning board of appeals was very particular about making sure that our plan matched the landscaping plan on all of these details. They're very detail oriented.
All right, any other questions from the commission?
So I have one now. What do you think our rationale can be for allowing something to be built within 25 feet? Because that's not,
I'm sorry.
Well, I guess,
What was your question?
I said, we have a policy of not building anything within 25 feet, right? Of the first 25 feet of the buffer zone, right?
Right.
this is a
Yeah.
40B, right?
I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah, this is a comprehensive permit project. That is correct.
Okay,
You-
but
you don't
you're-
need, you still have to get, you're not exempted from this act, I thought.
Not from state regs.
Yeah. So I'm asking you, so you have to comply with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act.
That's
Right?
correct. That's correct.
Okay. So I'm just saying, our policy, again, it's not a bylaw, but our policy is not to allow anything within 25 feet. So, and yet, you know, the wall is within, at the closest 7 feet, right?
Yeah, 7.7 feet at this pinch point here.
So I'm just asking you for, what is the reason why we should do this?
Well, I think what we've talked a little bit about this in the past, and what we do when we look at projects like this, we look at other ones that are nearby to see what was done in recent history. For example, at 598 next door, where the other there's another apartment project, and then the one right next door to that one is 600. And they were concrete retaining walls along their limit of work as well that were as close as 10 feet. Not 7.7 like we have in this one pinch point. So we tried to maintain 15 feet. So recognizing that they got as close as 10 feet, we wanted to do a little bit better than that. And so our design was to try to maintain 15 feet. But then with a couple of these wetland flag moves, our limit of work got closer to the wetland.
I remember commenting about this in the very, very beginning. I think those other lots were had previous development on them, if I recall. I'm not sure I was a part of either one of those when they went through, but
Yeah, there was a house,
I just remember there were no trees cleared it was lawn, I think, cleared to the wetland, if I remember looking at it, not at the time, but after.
yeah, one of the lots.
Do you
did have
guys
a house.
remember?
I do,
Yeah, it was a house there, right?
yeah. There may have been some trees removed on the house one. There's definitely pruning. I think there were some trees removed also. Any other
And
concerns?
How much,
or questions?
how much of the, can you just go along with just, touch it with the pen, like where we're within, not within, where we are. We don't have a 25-foot buffer zone. I just want to look at the significance of it.
Sure, I can do that if you don't mind me sharing
Mhm.
my AutoCAD screen.
Sure.
Right.
That's going to be a little bit easier for me to show you. So it's a little bit of a different screen to look at. It's black, so it's a reverse sort of image. But I can easily come down here. So this line is the new wetland line. So if I let's see here. If I show you a 25-foot buffer. So that's what the 25-foot buffer looks like. So you can see down towards this end of the site, we do a pretty good job of honoring it down in this section of the project. And then as we come around to the let's call them the pinch points here at the B21 flag, you can see where how far the 25-foot comes in, and then we come around the bend here and we're back to 25 here. But then we have this flag here that says, that's a 15-foot setback here. And then as we come around the bend here, we do a better job of getting closer, let's say with the improvements to meeting the 25. So that's what that looks like.
What is the blue? The blue is what, the new wetland line or the old one?
So this blue line here.
Yeah.
That represents
The other one, the one that's touching the green, the wall.
the one that's touching the wall. So maybe there's something that looks blue to you.
I mean, the blue that he just took off,
Yeah,
That
That's
was
the
a 25
that
25.
was the 25-foot
25
buffer
feet.
okay,
line.
that was the
Right.
25.
Oh, yeah, this one here. Yep,
Okay, so that's the 25 feet. Okay,
that's
good.
25-foot buffer.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so a good portion of it is at that point or just around it.
Closer. I guess my question would be, is there any flexibility on that back area there around the dumpsters and the parking to improve the buffering at all?
So the area, you can see that we do have some a little bit of open area back. This is the dumpster corral area where there's recycling and municipal solid waste. And then this is a covered bike rack area here. And this area is all open. We were hoping to maintain some area for snow storage. That's the primary purpose of these open areas on the top part of the project. But to answer your question, and then the other thing, and I know this doesn't matter a whole lot for, it's hard for us to follow nature with straight lines, but the reason why the walls are shown in a straight line is that it's more pleasing to the eye and easier to build. But to answer your question, it's possible to go back and recreate get to the 15-foot setback by jogging these walls in a little bit, and maybe even moving the dumpster corral and the bike rack, moving them over a little bit to get back to 15 in this area. That is possible.
Mm. Did you have any plantings going up in that area?
Let's take a look real quick at the landscaping plan. We have a couple of we have two trees proposed in this area. There was one tree here,
Mhm.
and then another tree behind the bike rack area here. But no, there was no ground cover proposed except for loam and seed over here, because this was going to be maintained as one of our snow storage areas.
Yeah,
Not very big, but
very big. That's
Um,
probably really not practical.
Yeah, and I want to ask my colleagues, are we concerned about snow storage area being the use of the area that's especially close to the wetland?
I think so.
Well, that's why I was,
I
I like the idea of having trees up there that he's talking about, because it's gonna.
No, but I
prohibit-
mean, it just seems to me like we need to put the wall further close to the thing so we can put snow there. It seems just that kind of seems like a twofer here against us.
Well, to Chris's comment, if you jog that wall and got rid of that snow storage, you'd be accomplishing two things. You would eliminate the snow storage and you'd also get back some of your buffer.
Yep.
Where are you talking though, Bob?
Right where the cursor is now.
so yeah. So let me
And-
show my hand here. So it's possible to take this. The purple line is the retaining wall,
Right.
and instead of having these straight lines that create some open area up on top, we could jog the wall in and get closer to the curb here, and then jog it back in here. And then, slide the dumpsters and the bike corral, that way a little bit to improve the buffer, especially where we have this pinch point here with the B21A flag.
But I almost think it'd be better to put the trees in there like you were talking, because it's gonna prohibit them from, carrying the snow in their bucket and dropping it off the edge.
Can you see the,
It's gonna force you to probably hand shovel it in that area rather than use equipment.
Can you all see the landscaping plan?
Yeah, I
No,
wouldn't see that.
Is it still the CAD plan?
yeah, it's still the CAD
Yes.
drawing.
All right, sorry about that. Let me go back here again and just show you the landscaping plan. So this is the area where where I was talking about the two additional trees here.
And the dumpsters have to go there, huh?
It is it's a logical
Yeah.
logical spot.
Yeah, it's easy for a truck to get in there.
We also, just to kind of tell you, after we got out of traffic advisory and some of the comments we got back from the lieutenant and town engineer, we have a sort of a spot here that's we thought about putting the dumpsters down here too. But this was a logical spot for a delivery truck to come in and, whether it's Amazon or UPS, somewhere where they can pull in.
Yeah.
That's easy for them to turn and go.
Mm.
So I guess the question for the commission is, would you rather see those two trees not there, snow storage not there, and the walls jogged to get more of a buffer, or remain as is?
The other thing we could do too is if we could add, looks like there's enough room to add another tree here up on top as well. In the back.
So
behind
it's
the
a difference
dumpsters.
of 8 feet difference? Right? You said-
It's 5 to 6 feet high, the retaining wall there.
No, I'm moving it. It's right now the closest, it's 7.7 feet, and so now it'd be 15 feet.
That's right.
So you'd add 6.5 feet away from the BBW.
Right. We could take this straight section of wall and jog it to achieve that, if that was something that was important to the commission.
Bob, what's your feeling?
Well, you would be removing that snow storage area, so I think that's a positive.
Right,
And you'd be getting additional buffer back.
Yeah,
So my thought would be that would be an improvement. You could make the argument, though, snow's just gonna get pushed over the wall or over through the fence or over the fence. And now you've lost that place to put it.
It doesn't look like you have any real room to, I mean, what would you do? Move the dumpsters when you start?
Yeah, there's not a lot of room for snow, right?
Yeah.
yeah, where else would you put it?
I think the snow is probably not, I think it's better the way it is, the way he's got it. I would add another tree, like he was talking about, and make it not accessible for snow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you look at this area closely, it's gonna be hard to, I mean, that you might have some room to push a little bit of snow. Don't forget the way this is graded. The intent is to have this, flow back towards the parking lot too, where the snow melt will be treated in the stormwater management area. But I guess there's not a lot of room, I suppose, for snow. There's a little bit here.
And then you get
maybe-
the bike rack over there. How are you gonna get in there?
Yeah,
Snow?
maybe
Yeah, you'd probably be hand shoveling or using a snow blower and not
right
a
now.
plow around the dumpsters.
I think the vegetation would be better. And the wall, the way it seems, where it's drawn now, it looks good to me.
I mean, logically, it's a better look having the wall straight like that.
Mm.
There would be benefits to your point, Jim, of having another tree.
I think it'd be nice if vegetated in that area. But whatever.
Well, if you are concerned about some snow storage, we could even throw in a couple of woody shrubs.
Chris,
know,
I'm gonna ask you something, Chris.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy anyways, but did you ever think of heating that to melt the snow instead of trying to carry it out or push it around? And the only
yeah,
reason-
that's not, I'm not gonna laugh. I've heard of, those machines that do that. But I know Mr. Lopez, operates another similar property in another, not too far away. And I think the plan, we've talked about it in-house with our team that he would truck it off-site to
Yeah.
another location.
We had one on Audubon Road that did put the heating system in their parking lot. It's basically the same type of stuff you have here.
Oh, Jim,
And-
you're referring to a heated lot, not a snow melting machine.
No, it was a heated lot, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Heated-
okay, that's different.
Right.
And they said it works great. They've been there for like 5 or 7 years now, and the system works good. I don't know, you maybe want to check and see if it's makes sense money-wise. They said there was a return after 10 years or something like that. They would start to see a return on their money. I don't know the specifics about it, but it might be something worth checking out, because I don't, where you're gonna really, you've got all the vegetation, you've got the same problem everyone else has, is no place to put the snow. You can't put it on the plants because you kill the plants, or you're gonna keep replacing the plants every year.
So I can promise you that we'll, Dan is on the call tonight too. I can promise you that we'll look into it, but I can't promise you that we'll commit to it.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand. I checked it out with the people over there because we were looking at another project that we were trying to convince them it would be the way to go. And I mean, you can go and see them and talk to them about it if you want. And
What was the address, Jim?
It's the big high rise, it's the big complex there on Audubon Road as you're going on the left-hand side. I don't know what the address is. Is it 1 Audubon Road, maybe? No.
Okay, I think I know where you're talking about though.
But the only problem they said they had was that the steam generator, they had a steam generator there or something, and it was, the water from the machine. They had it in an enclosed area. I guess they changed it around, but other than that, they haven't had any problems with it. I don't know how expensive it is, and I don't know how you engineer that to see which is more practical to do. But I think it's worth a shot.
So I guess back to the original question, does the commission have a preference to remove those 2 trees and jog the wall, or leave it as is and add a tree?
Well, I vote for leaving it the way it is and add a tree. I think that makes the most sense.
Okay, anybody else?
I think that seems to be more protective of the resource rather than adding just a few feet to the buffer. It seems like what Jimmy's talking about is a little bit more protective of what's there.
I agree.
Yeah, you are keeping activities away from that wall by having the current configuration.
Right. You're losing feet, but you're gaining a little bit more
Okay,
protection. That's how I
Alright.
look at it, at least.
I see your point, Ken.
all right, so it sounds like the current configuration is the way that the commission would prefer to see it, rather than jogging the wall, but adding additional tree, Chris.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
So can I just ask a question? How does our tree policy apply if they're taking down in the buffer zone live trees?
It doesn't apply because it's a policy and not a state law.
No, I know. I realize it's a policy, but I'm just wondering, we're not, so again, Rebecca asked for this account of trees that are gonna be cut down, that's all. And so we're not asking for, as part of our policy, if it's more than 6 inches, right, in diameter for replacement, we're not asking for a contribution to a fund. I'm just wondering how that works here.
So if we had a count of what was coming down, we could compare it to what's being added.
Right. I think we should do that, don't you?
Yeah, Rebecca did ask for that, right?
No, I know, but I mean,
Oh.
I guess I'm going one step further to do the comparison and then determine whether or not something is required, right?
Well, I also think similar to what you guys have done on other projects is to look at what trees are coming down. You evaluate whether or not they're providing any protection to the resource area. And then if there's replacement or if not replacement, whether or not that replacement or not replacement still provides the similar protection to the resource area. So that's kind of how you guys typically go through that process. So I would just suggest you just do the exact same thing that you do for all the other ones. That's not any bylaw or local related. That's just doing your due diligence of evaluating the impacts to the resource area under the state law. So I would just suggest you do it the same way that we've done probably all the other ones. Now, I would just leave out, of course, any donations to the tree policy or any of that stuff. And they're certainly proposing to add in a bunch of trees. So I think you would probably stay focused on what's coming down and whether or not whatever coming down is going to have a negative impact.
Right, there's also the invasive species management that's being proposed too, which should
Right.
assist in the growth of any trees that are remaining and trees being added.
I know, I think that'd be great. I was actually talking about with Elaine today because the other buildings that are adjacent or on North Ave, they're struggling with the knotweed. So
Yeah, right.
absolutely, this will include like a good plan that we could then share with them that maybe they would like to try, because they're not particularly successful right now in their landscaping because the knotweed has taken over. It's just really tough. And it's certainly a benefit to get rid of it. I'm sure.
Does the knotweed go way into the wetlands?
I think the wetland plants probably outcompete the knotweed.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you're not going to have that situation.
Okay.
They're better suited for that environment. I have a quick unrelated question that hasn't come up. I'm really sorry. The depressed landscape area, is that that's part of the stormwater management for the site, in addition to what's going underneath the paved areas? And I'm looking at, there are 3 of them up towards the front, and I can see that, is it just like a little infiltration area? And what does it infiltrate?
So this was at the request of the town engineer, Bill Renault.
Mhm.
So we had some areas, this is an unusual site because, let me back up a little, zoom out just a little bit more. There is a lot of land between the edge of the pavement of North Avenue
Yep.
and the property line. Our property line is way back here.
Yep, I saw that.
So there's
It is unusual.
there's quite a bit of land out here, and
Yep.
and sidewalks were really important to the zoning board of appeals, and having a separate walkway in front of the building was important to the architecture and the look that the ZBA was looking for in front of the project, and to try to just help capture some of these landscape areas and not just let them run out to North Ave. Bill thought it might be a good idea to create a couple of small depressions just to kind of slow the water down. Maybe you would get some infiltration. We really didn't run them through a model or anything like that.
Okay.
But we had an opportunity, and Bill said, "Hey, would you be willing to create a couple of depressions?" And we said, "Sure."
Okay.
And
so
I
it's not
think
really
it
hard.
allows him to get some credit for this is toward related to the MS4 permit.
Okay.
He might get some phosphorus removal credit for them.
Is the bottom just grassed? And then I can see that there's plantings around it, but
Yes, the bottom, I believe the bottom is just grass. We went back and forth with the zoning board of appeals on what material was going to be used. It was mulch, then it was grass. I think we ended up at grass, if I remember right.
okay. And so it's just capturing the little bit from the sidewalks or the
In
walkway.
the landscape areas,
Landscape.
that's about it.
Okay, and is there and this can be later, is there a fertilizer, a pesticide program that we could review, or just trying to think whether or not that would be, so it's capturing that landscaped area. Is that landscaped area going to be the typical, like, with fertilizer use periodically from the landscape company and that type of stuff.
Well, I can't remember if we've specified what type of fertilizer is going to be used and that sort of thing, but we're willing, to commit to, low nitrogen type or, whatever you think might be appropriate.
We can put that in the order. I was just curious if there was something already in existence. Okay.
All right, so two of the things that we were looking for was a count of the trees coming down and
So is that trees larger than a certain size?
larger than 6-inch, Rebecca?
Thought that's
I
what it was.
actually have to look. I don't know if it's 4 or 6. I can't remember.
Thought it was 6.
Uh,
Judy, do you remember before I pull this up off the top of your head?
It's 6.
There
It's
you go.
6, yeah,
Okay.
it's 6.
What, is it 4 feet high? That's where you measure it? I just know there was a 4.
Measured 4 feet off the ground, yes,
So it's the 6.
yeah.
Thank you.
So we're looking for that and the invasive species management program.
Yeah, there's no problem giving you the tree count. I believe that that as part of our comprehensive permit application, we requested waivers from any local requirement related to tree replacement and that sort of thing. But that's not a big deal to give you an accounting of that, and then feel free to compare it to what we're proposing. Sure.
Great. Was there anything else Commission is looking for? I think that was it.
We're gonna add another tree behind the dumpster.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's it, unless anybody else can think of anything else. So our next scheduled meeting is August 1st. Do you think you'd have that information available prior to August 1st?
Absolutely. We've got an eradication plan that we can use as a template from another project. And, updating the landscaping plan and doing the tree count will not take very long.
Okay. So you'd be okay with us continuing to August 1st?
Yes,
Okay, excellent. All right, well, thank you, Chris. And we'll see you in a few weeks.
that'd be great. If I might be so bold as to ask the commission, do you think we might be close to closing the public hearing at the next meeting?
Not to speculate, but I mean, we've only asked for a couple of minor things, so I would think that we're very close. Anybody else
Okay.
have a comment or?
I agree.
Yeah, I think we're very close.
I agree.
All right, we'll let you get back to it, but absolutely, we'll see you soon.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are almost half an hour behind schedule. Rebecca, you ready to move on?
Yes.
All right, so next up is DEP 313-629. It's 0 Patriot Circle. This is a continued public hearing. It is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for to confirm approximately 306 linear feet of BVW. I know a number of the commissioners did go out last week, and some of us have been out there previous. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I am. Stephen Leppo.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing, guys?
Good. All right. Rebecca, you and I saw Elaine has confirmed the line as of
Yep. She
today.
went out and she sent that email and said she confirmed the line.
Yeah.
I haven't been out there.
Yeah.
But I think you guys have been out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions from the commission?
No,
Any concerns?
no.
Yeah, we've looked at this before. All right, so would somebody like to make a motion to approve the resource area delineation.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Haley? I think, no, I see Haley. Haley, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, all in favor? Yeah, we have a motion, we had a second, and all in favor, so Haley.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I get you
Yes.
now. Okay, Jim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
yes.
and I also vote yes. All right, that was easy.
Thank you, Commission.
Well, the sidewalk helped a lot.
We kept you waiting, but we got you through quick.
I got the answer I needed. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, we have a lot of other business. Rebecca, any particular order? Fort Confalone is what is up first on your list?
Yeah, I was hoping, I sent him the information, the Zoom information. He had supplied a couple pictures today that I think I forwarded over to you guys. If he's not here, then I would just suggest that we just wait in case you guys have questions that should be answered by him. I believe at one point he did come forward, or was at one of the meetings, and he mentioned that he needed, or was asked to take 2 of the trees down that overhang the pool. And then there was one other one that he wanted to take down. I think Elaine's been out there and she gave you the information. And then he submitted a proposed, along in that package that I forwarded to you, I think he submitted some proposed plantings.
All right, I'm getting this confused with another tree removal. Is this the one where the property
one-
owner on the adjacent lot wanted trees removed?
Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, it's very confusing. They came in. All right, so this is what I have so far. This is what I think is going on. There are 2 homes on Confalone Circle. I don't know if it's Confalone or Confalone Circle.
Yes.
And there is a pool on 6 Confalone Circle. The owners of 6 have asked to take some trees down. The owners of 4 who live next door to 6 have also asked to take some trees down.
Any of
Number
the same
4
trees?
asked to take, nope, different trees, each have their own trees on each lot.
Oh,
So there's 3 trees on number 4, and there are a few trees, I don't remember off the top of my head, on number 6. So this is number 4. He's showing you the area that is, you can see probably the pool off to the right there.
right,
So
and the
the
leaning
neighbor-
tree.
The neighbor at 6 had asked to take some trees, those trees down on his
That one's
lot,
leaning over the house or something.
leaning over the pool, I think.
Okay,
So number 4 has proposed to do some plantings. And that might be on the next, yeah. So, I suppose you guys can either,
Who saw the property? I'm sorry, Elaine's gonna see it. We struggled, we spent an inordinate amount of time last meeting because the person who had no one, or none of us had seen the property, and you just can only discern somewhat from photographs. We just needed someone to go out there and actually see it.
when Elaine went out there, she looked at, all right, so when Elaine went out there, she looked at the trees, because that was what was requested. There's a few things going on.
Can I just ask, why are we talking about this when the homeowner is not here?
well, we
Yeah.
asked them, we did ask them to provide a planting plan, so it looks like they've done that.
Right,
But they chose all boxwoods, which are not native.
I was gonna ask that question. Are they in the native plant list? And if they aren't, we should ask
They are
them to
not
put in
native, they're
something that
European
is.
or Asian.
Right, okay.
All right. All right. I
um,
almost feel like for 15 minutes of walking the property, we could make a decision, but we'll spend times as much trying to glean from photographs what what's going on.
Well, maybe,
Rebecca-
so do you want to go ask the homeowner if you can take a peek, or are you guys not in? I mean, I know Elaine went out there, but what she looked at, the request was tree removal, so she had looked at the state of the trees. If you zoom into that picture, zoom in, I'm not entirely sure the location of that shed is not within wetland. The only point I make is that maybe there's a statement made that when eventually it gets replaced, it shouldn't be in the same spot. It's not grandfathered in that spot, but that's something to take a look at. And then, of course, the non-native, so maybe, I think the tree policy references native, so we'll just go back and request that it's native planting
Question.
as opposed to, and so that's fine, because why don't I go ahead and do that, request the native plantings, because if we don't want to make a decision about the homeowner anyhow, this will give him, he's going to come back anyway with it, so it'll work out where he can attend and he can provide something that's native that he's happy with.
Wasn't there an arborist letter about some of these trees? Root
Yes.
ball exposed,
Okay,
damage.
so there wasn't, we got an arborist letter for number 6. And if you look, you actually zoom in a little bit on this picture, stay here to the right, zoom in. If you can, a little bit more. I'm not sure.
That's all I can go.
I
That's
think
you
that's it.
Okay. So you can see
Oh,
over,
alright.
well, there you go. You
There you
can
go.
see, yeah, okay. So you can see the little bit of blue, which I think is the pool. Through the trees, you can see the orange, which is the fence. And then you can see the new construction. I called Elaine today and she didn't ever recall seeing that when she went out there to look at the trees. So as far as,
Oh, yeah, it looks like something's being framed.
yeah, as far as the information I have, the fence was located at the top of the fill and the wetland was located at the bottom of the slope. So I don't understand where that's located. I don't have any information on it. It was never put before you guys. So,
Where's the buffer?
I think we should look at it because she's got on this drawing marsh. So is there a marsh on the other side of these trees? If you cut down these
Yeah.
trees?
Yeah.
yeah,
let's just-
so
Unless
I
there's
have,
been construction in the buffer area is the other question.
Right, let's just stop and do a site walk here.
Okay, but
We're doing the same thing we did last week, is spending a lot of time.
Yeah, wasting a lot of energy on something we can't resolve.
On photographs, which are just so difficult to discern.
okay, but I just want to point out something. There's 2 separate things going on here.
I understand.
So, okay, I just want to make sure, because for number 6, I wrote back to the homeowner and I said, there is an outstanding order of conditions and the commission won't approve your tree removal until we get that sorted out.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's number 6. So we need a certificate of compliance for number 6.
And 6 is the one with the pool.
And 6 is the one with the pool. They got a
Okay.
request for determination for the pool. That I have that file. But I don't know anything about this building structure.
Yeah, it looks like there is framing going on there. Right?
I have pictures that Christine Odiaga took from 2003 of when she obviously was out there for some reason. Yeah, if you zoom in on that, so the back gate is to the left. Yeah, well, I guess between, you can see 4 and 6, so I'm not really sure I understand. You know what, let me do this. Let me show you a picture. Who can I forward it to? Who's controlling the screen?
Yeah,
Ken, yeah, send it to Ken.
Yeah.
I mean, would it be easier for you and or Elaine to straighten this stuff out before we go out there?
It doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter because 4 is different than 6. There's 2 different things going on.
But what
The
are we
reason
gonna see
for
when
is
we go?
taking down the trees is to satisfy 6, isn't it?
There's one he wants to take down for himself.
Okay,
But he said 2 are because it overhangs the pool and 1 he wanted to.
Are the trees marked on the ground, the ones that he wants to remove?
They're probably not marked, no.
Then what good is going out to see them if we don't even know what trees they are? I
yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It'd be beneficial
Let's
for
put
Elaine.
it
to look
aside
at-
until we have people with us who can answer the questions.
So Elaine has already been out there to look at the trees. I think she came on that, she jumped on the meeting last time to tell you
did.
guys, yeah. So as far as that is concerned, number 4, you guys are just waiting on the replacement plan. You got a replacement plan. It's not native, so we can go back and ask for native, and then we'll see him next time.
Okay, and that takes care of 4.
I think so.
Yeah, we agreed with what she wanted to do, providing we had a suitable replacement plan.
Yeah, he was gonna replace him. Okay, so this is 6.
Oh,
So I see, you can see the fence and there's a little bit of a gap right there in the fence because that's the gate. You can see that there's the fill to the, I guess approved at the time when they did it. That order of conditions is still outstanding, so we'd have to take a peek at that. I don't have
so
it.
silt fence is still there.
It's not there now. Elaine said it's not there now.
Oh,
But so I guess I'm not sure I understand where that structure is and how it's possible.
the one they're framing?
Yes, that's the other side. There's an outlet, obviously.
Yeah.
And
I just
where is
showed-
4 from this?
Okay, so if you look at this picture, 4 is the brown house to the right.
Okay,
So it almost looks like where your arrow is. If you go like, oh,
Wow, that's all Phil.
yep,
I don't understand how there's a structure adjacent to that fence now, because the picture that was recently supplied showed the structure is butting up to that fence, and there's a corner of the fence that you can see, and to me, it looks like it drops into the wetland.
so that's a structure that's been built in the wetland buffer.
I think it's being built now, so the good news is that hopefully they haven't invested a lot of money into it until we figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, can you ask the owner of 6 to appear before us the next meeting, next hearing?
Yes, I can do that.
Maybe they can put some ribbon on the trees that they want removed
Are we talking about number 6?
with either one of them.
Yeah, 6.
I think before we do the tree removal at 6, I think we need to get their certificate of compliance so that their file is closed out. We should probably, so there'll be a site visit to review that, so that they can get their certificate of compliance. I don't know what the requirements were of the order. And then they do have, like I said, they got a request for determination for the pool. So I guess I would look at that plan to see what it looked like and then compare it to what it looks like now. It's very confusing.
Yeah,
Where's that pipe coming from that's discharging into the wetland?
I know there's a drain easement. I don't know the origin of that pipe. I can try to look. Oh, hold on. Let me look at something. Let me see if I can get you something else.
Is that street runoff?
Like I said, I know there's a drain easement that goes along the side and along the back. I might have I don't know if electronically.
And
I
I'm
have-
curious, that fill with that fence, so did you say that we have a filing for that work?
Yeah, I'll send it to Ken. It's old and there's no certificate of compliance yet, so we need to close that out. Right. Hold on.
I'm not remembering this project.
It's old. It's file number 289. Oops. Ken, did I send it to you? Hold on. Or did I just make a mistake?
Can you see the
Oh, I did.
Google Earth right now?
Yeah,
All right. So sorry, I'm scrolling through. I'm just trying to figure out where it doesn't exist anymore. 2013. 2010.
You talking about the pool?
Yep.
Oh, they file, I can look that up. Because there was an RDA for that. Oh, I wonder if I have that plan. I don't know if I have that plan. Oh, yeah, I have that too. So they got
That's
their.
2007, right?
All right, so that's the order to build number 6. And the pool was done in 03. Around 03, that's when the file.
So the
was.
house was, that's the order for the house?
Yes, this is the order for the house.
Okay.
No, I'm hoping it includes some plan. So this would be the certificate of compliance that,
Do we ever get a certificate of compliance? Is that what?
no, I told the homeowner that we need to clean this up.
All right.
I
Do we
mean,
get an
But how
as-built?
like go down one more. There you go.
Rebecca, the order has expired. How do we issue a certificate of compliance with an expired order?
We do that all the time.
We do?
Yeah, it's on their deed, so we have to just go, we look at the old order of conditions and we just ensure that the requirements are met, and then you issue the certificate of compliance. I mean, if anything's, see, the thing is, if anything's different than the original order, we should have had a file for it. So there's this chain of custody, almost like everything should make sense, one to the other to the other. So for instance, this order of conditions doesn't show a pool. However, they did an RDA for the pool and they have their approval for the pool. So you wouldn't, although it's different now, that was appropriately approved through the process, right? So you would be looking at whether or not something was not approved, whether or not in addition to the deck, or whether or not there are any requirements. I mean, I don't know at the time when this was approved, maybe there was a requirement that you couldn't clear beyond the fence. Well, the fence wasn't there until the pool was there.
Well, is there an as-built anywhere in this file?
No. No, I don't have an as-built.
All right, so we don't even know if they complied with the original order.
That's
Well,
right.
you know what we could do, when you said as-built, they could maybe use, depending on what it looks like, and I don't have it in front of me, but the plan that they use for their request for determination, if that was newly created in 03, maybe they could use that as their as-built. I don't know what it looks like. I don't have it electronically. So anyway, just so you know, now you guys are informed of what's going on at number 6, why they didn't come back for the tree approval. I told her to hold off until we get it all sorted out. So then I'll tell number 4 to just change the plantings to native, come back, and then that should finish that out.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, what's next?
Are
Amended
you doing a
signature?
site visit for that or no?
No.
Okay.
Not until we hear from the landowner.
All right, so next, on the other business, you have the amended signature authorization form,
Mhm.
which you've added Haley and Paul,
Yes.
and Haley and Paul are okay being added.
Yep.
Do you need to read the form or anything? I don't know. Teresa, do you think they have to read it?
Yeah, we have to make the motion. Yeah, I think, can you put
Well,
up,
do you have to read the form aloud or?
yeah, so why don't we, can you pull up the form? I could pull up the form if you want. Or Ken, do you have the, what Rebecca said today?
I do. Library.
All righty. So I guess I'm going to make the motion to authorize the conservation agent, Rebecca Davis, to physically sign Wakefield Conservation Commission documents in the name of the commission. And the term document shall mean any documents issued by the commission under the Wetlands Protection Act and any applicable law, including but not limited to orders of conditions, certificates of compliance and enforcement orders. So I move it. And Jim, do you want to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay,
Alrighty.
all in favor? Jim?
Did you say Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Peter?
Peter,
Can I ask
Alright.
a quick question?
Yes, I vote yes. Sorry.
Go ahead, Ken.
Is
Can I-
this supposed to be MGL or just GL?
It doesn't make any difference. It's the
It
same.
does not make any difference.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
All right, Teresa, you voted yes, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right, Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
yes.
Haley,
Yes.
and I also vote yes.
Hey, Haley, is your name spelled correctly there?
Haley, did you hear that?
No, it
question?
is not. Thank you for touching that. It's an H, not a B in McCatton.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Thank you.
All right, now that.
Rebecca, can you
As
fix it on
amended.
your end?
Yep,
Yeah,
that looks right now.
Rebecca, can you fix it on your end so I just don't have to send it back to you?
Yes.
Thanks.
All right, so that's all set, right?
Done.
All set for tonight.
Yes. And Rebecca, you're gonna get a couple of originals signed
Yes, I will.
and send them to me.
Is that how we did it last time? So I don't remember how we did it last time. So
Yes,
sorry,
yeah, and because I need an original in order to record them.
and you need more than one?
Well, we do one on the registered side and one on the non-registered side.
And it's from the clerk?
Yeah, so your original signature, then you get Betsy's original signature.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I'll do that.
All right, so next up is the native plant policy.
All right, this is just like a first attempt. So I know you guys had talked about the native plant policy. So I'm assuming that you want it, or maybe I shouldn't assume, it applies for when you are reviewing and approving a project? Is that how you are doing this?
Yeah, I don't know, how else would we have jurisdiction?
No, I don't think you would. I just want to, I think that's really the
Right,
only
right,
way,
right.
but I just wanted to be sure
We're
that.
power hungry, we want to just go out and try all native plantings all the time.
The whole,
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Exactly,
the whole time.
everywhere, exactly.
I did add in, and you can, because it's a policy, I took a little bit of liberty of adding some narrative. So,
I like it very much.
Did you send this policy to us?
I sent it later today.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not ready yet.
no, and that's okay, because it's just, we're just starting to, sorry. Thanks, Elliot. We're just starting to, and here's a list. Now, this list actually came from the town of Ipswich. So they have a native policy on municipal lands. I think that's how that worked out. There's like 2 places that have some, I think Somerville has another one too. Now, Haley, you pulled up some pretty snazzy information too. I didn't have a chance to incorporate that into here. But so
Yeah,
he-
I looked at the towns around us,
Yeah.
but the 2 that I found that were most interesting One of them was actually in, I think it was Connecticut, and I forget where the other one was, but it was a little further away. as well.
Franklin was one of them, Franklin, Mass.
Yes.
Remember looking at that one. So just trying to figure out, I had put in this is just a list. Like I said, I got it from somewhere else, from Ipswich. I think it's not particular. I think it was updated. I don't remember when, but we can update it as we go. But, so if you go back to the beginning, I just want to make sure, and what kind of like, and do you want this to mirror the tree policy that says, we can pull that up and compare them? So that everything kind of looks consistent, or does it not matter?
What do you mean mirror?
Just the format. So if you look at this, so here it talks about a jurisdiction for the tree policy. In the native plant policy, I just put that if it's subject to your approval, that's under that's how I left it in red. I just confirming that that's how you guys want to do that.
But the
and
point would be
because-
that, isn't the point to have like to be able to say that you'll, when we put an order in or something that says that you will present us with a, or when we're doing something, you're going to present us with a planting plan that's consistent with our native plant policy, right? Isn't that how you do it?
I
mean, we're-
think that's what we're going for, and so we
Yes.
identify.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're cool with that. And then, so are we going to limit it to the plant? So anything with any plantings within the buffer zone that you have jurisdiction and are reviewing and going to approve shall meet the policy. Are there going to be any exceptions? And do you want to list them out in here if you have any thoughts on
Well,
that?
I'm not sure about exception, but do we want to asterisk like salt tolerant species? Flag those specifically, an asterisk or something like that.
Could
The
you
ones that
also
are
add
in the
in,
list?
could you also add in salt tolerant would be required in certain areas?
Okay.
So that that's upfront.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
makes sense.
can we have some, isn't it possible that if we tell people to give us a planting plan, that they may want to, plant some things that are not? Isn't this sort of a guideline? Shall
Yes.
count our native plant policy. So if we say, well, how did you, so we get something that comes closer to what we would get if we didn't have a native plant policy. And I like that you have a date on it. So, the native plant policy adopted blank, so people can find it and refer to it. My point is that I think that, you're going to get landscape people that are going to want to, we're not presenting them with exclusive lists, I think. Isn't that right? This is really.
Yeah, I put maximize the use of native veg, but I think that you're right. And I think that do you want to structure that language somewhere in here saying like, this is a guide and we're going to implement it to the maximum we can, understanding that in some circumstances.
But don't we approve planting policies? Do we, don't we have to approve? If they planting plans, we approve them. So they're gonna have to give us something, and we just want to have a basis for saying, you didn't even look at that, and so we're not going to approve it. And then we have a reason to say it,
I suppose probably the real motive behind this is to streamline. So that if
Yeah.
you write that,
Right,
like,
that they know what
it's
to
all
do.
listed right here. No one has to
Yeah.
wonder if
We
Bucks would
remind
like.
them, we
Box
have.
would
a
we're gonna
policy,
look-
refer
they're
to
going to
it.
present us with a specific plan, and we're going to look at it. We're going to see what plants are on it, and we're going to know whether they took into account, they read this thing.
We don't want to do it that way. We want to tell them we have a policy of native plants. If you want to refer to it, here they are. Rather than after the fact, we want them to use it up front.
Well, no,
Right.
that's right. That's right.
Could it be written as like exceptions on a case by case basis?
Yeah, I think we
Some
should use words like
wiggle
that.
language.
I'll take into account or be, substantially consistent with, or something, something like that. That leaves a little wiggle room, but generally we expect to get something that has a lot of those plants on it,
Okay. I mean, you could do a percentage, but maybe that's too.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Yeah. I
tricky.
think
no.
like there's gonna be
We want native plants, we should say we want native plants, and if, except where there's a case made that it should be otherwise.
Yeah,
Do you think in
If
the
we do
25-foot buffer, it should be required?
okay, that's a good one.
Yes.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
consistent with the tree policy.
All right, so we're gonna add that in. So within 25 feet, it must be from 25 to 100 or whatever the remaining.
And then
Um,
outside that, at the commission's discretion,
Mhm.
species could vary. So it's not at the applicant's discretion, it's at the commission's discretion.
Yeah, well, in the end, we get to approve a planting policy. We get to approve planting. And so,
Plan.
and we can say at the meeting, can we have a little, we can say that, we can have a discussion if they're saying, if they want to give us a plan and suggest that maybe they want to do a few different things, we can say, well, just show us the plan. I guess I want to have flexibility is what I want. And we all want to be able to have the policy and we can talk about it in the meetings when we talk to people. Please refer to our policy, our planting, our native plant policy.
I do think it's great to have it written. I would like to eventually post it on the
Yeah,
website, have all these things.
Yes, absolutely.
Although I do agree with flexibility, I find flexibility to be a slippery slope and leads to inconsistency. So that's where,
I'm more, I can just see that, I don't know. It's funny. I think we had this conversation. Teresa, isn't this a deja vu moment here?
But the whole
Yeah.
purpose of
Look,
asking for a permit from the commission is they're asking for a variance from the Wetlands Protection Act. So part of that is maybe they'll ask for a variance on the native plant policy as well. So I don't think that really needs to be stated up front because the reason they're before you is for a variance. So if they wanted different plantings, they would certainly ask for them.
Yes, of course they can.
it is a policy, it's not a requirement.
Yeah, I mean, there could be certain circumstances where a non-native species is more advantageous because it provides whatever, more food or
No,
something.
disagree. No, no.
No, I think it's just
Absolutely
ornamental
not.
value.
Like, what if you want
I
to put an
don't see
olive tree,
non-native, I
olive tree
mean,
in your yard?
What if what?
You want to put an olive tree in your yard? That would not be native.
it's gonna die the first winter, so you don't.
Yeah, good luck.
Right.
I'm just using it
Exactly.
as a crazy example. Like, I don't know if certain apple trees are probably not native and some probably are.
Right. I know what you're saying.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to start with an intent, what you're trying to accomplish here.
Could you throw in something about the MVP, that whole report that they came out with? Because that
So
ties
it's so
into it.
funny because that's in the first paragraph. That's where that came from, that resilient
Okay.
and vision. So I can reference that. I didn't, but I can.
I think that's important because
okay.
it shows that it's not just the commission. It's
So why don't we
something
do
that the
this?
town
Yeah,
in
somebody
general is looking
else's.
As opposed to me trying to assume that I have understood what you guys would like to clarify. You don't have to write it perfectly, but why don't you guys get back to me and just insert your comments or sentences.
Yes,
or
that's
whatever,
a
right in
great
the
idea.
document, and then give it back to me. I'll compile them, edit it, and we'll send it back out.
Sounds good.
Once this is all done, can you also forward it to the planning board and the ZBA so that they know up front? This
Yeah,
is what the
Rebecca
commission is
said she
going to
was
look
going to
for.
do that, yeah.
Yeah,
But then this would just add to it
yeah.
So I'm
and send the
curious,
tree policy as well.
on that list, like what fruit bearing trees are native? Like, I just realized there's not a single native apple tree. I don't think, most fruit trees are not native.
Right, but what benefit is an apple tree in a wetland? An apple tree is
not a
not gonna-
wetland, it's a
Apple tree in a
buffer zone.
wetland is not gonna survive either.
No,
Right.
not in a wetland, in a buffer zone, your deer are gonna probably love those apples, right?
Yeah,
just
I see
saying-
I know what you're saying, Bob. Is like you want a little bit of flexibility for something reasonable.
Right, no,
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I don't think stating it up front. I think that opens the door for too much wiggle
Yep.
room.
It's a slippery
If you-
slope for sure.
They're coming to you for variance. If they want something different, they're gonna ask for that as part of the permitting process. Instead of opening it up to them saying, well, we'll talk about it if you want something different. Make them ask the question. They're the one that's asking for something from the commission.
I just want to be careful because again, some fruit bearing trees and not only good pollinators,
Right.
but also a good source of food. An excellent
Right, but
source
you're
of
not
food.
saying, right, you're not saying it's prohibited. They're coming to ask for a variance from other things. So it's their, part of their due diligence is asking for a variance on every aspect that they're looking for. And I don't think people are gonna be shy to ask if they want something different.
That's true.
And I
Um,
would just make one tweak to the watering. Once a native species is rooted, it requires virtually no water. So it's not less water, it's virtually no water.
Do you want to just, could you mind just sticking that in a comment or edit it or whatever?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, just, it doesn't have to be neat or whatever, or grammatically correct. I can fix all that stuff. Just if you guys all stick in what you think, and then, that way I can just put it all together. And if, even if it's a question or like, can you insert something that would include this? I'll make up the verbiage and whatever if you want to, or you can, just so I know. And apparently, crab apples are not native. I didn't know
No.
that.
Right.
They're not.
I'm
Central
trying to find
Asia.
any fruit bearing tree that's native, and I'm not finding anything you would normally consider.
And they're more susceptible to diseases, the fruit trees.
I mean, high bush blueberry, but that's not really a tree.
No, oh my God.
Yeah.
High bush blueberry.
It's your favorite.
Ay, yeah.
Yeah.
All
We have
right,
them
we'll
at the
just,
lake.
okay.
So
All right, we
can
gotta
go
get
on to
started on
the
that.
Next.
I hope we can finish it next time. I'd like to have that up and running
All right.
soon. And then, so
What's next?
25 no disturb, which is falling in the same.
All right,
We-
we can back up for 1 second. So, Clyde Court. So we had, we approved a list of plantings that were not native. But we also approved a plan that said it was doing native plantings. And so I guess the question is, do you want to leave? And so what's out there now is not native. And it's in the rain garden, right, Rebecca?
Yes,
Did you go out there and see it?
I didn't see it. I know you
I
asked me
sent
to
you
do it.
pictures. I mean, yeah, so maybe we don't care. It's the rain garden. It has non-native plants. We approved one thing that said native and another thing that said not native. So again, I just, we could just leave it be. They haven't come back. They're still working on it. They haven't come back to ask for a certificate of compliance for that house. So I don't know.
That's a tough one. I mean, you do have the condition that says any errors found could be considered changes.
So it sounds like there's not much appetite for this. So I'll just continue running past it and seeing non-native species.
We could make a note in the certificate of compliance somewhere that if that gets replaced, it should be replaced in according to
I'll
the
tell
native
you
plant
this.
policy.
This morning, that rain garden was filled with water. I'd love to know if those are going to survive, those plants.
Those daylilies will not survive.
Yeah, I mean,
They're gonna
literally,
die.
it was filled with water this morning.
Yeah, I didn't notice it today.
So where we had a planting plan, are you saying they didn't follow the planting plan?
No, we have a planting plan. It said native species on the plan, but then they
Okay.
submitted a list that they were non-native species.
And we accepted it.
Yeah, we accepted both.
Well, maybe if they don't survive, and when the certificate of compliance comes around, there's, you look for survival, and if they're struggling, maybe we can make suggestions and say, well, pause on this. Why don't you put in something more tolerant?
Yeah, and also to be frank, until recently, we weren't focused on this as much. So
Right.
now we are. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I like the
putting
idea.
putting
Good,
non-wetland plants in a
idea.
rain garden is a foolish thing to do.
Yeah.
We've been
Isn't
down that
there-
path before, by the way.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a requirement that they had to be replaced if they died in that rain garden? Because that was one of the first ones that the commission.
I'm
approved.
sorry, I couldn't hear you, Judy. Say that again.
The rain garden, wasn't there a stipulation that if they died, the plants, that they'd have to be replaced? Because that was one of the first rain gardens you approved. So I thought it was stated implicitly, maybe not.
That's
Yeah, I don't know
typical. Because it's a rain garden and it's part of the stormwater management, it might be in the stormwater management report. So we can look into that. Let's see what it says in there.
Okay, we can go on.
Let's do that.
Oh, so I don't think you guys ever formalized a written no disturb policy. Is that correct?
Is it on our website? It's not on the website, I'm assuming.
You voted on it, I think in 2014.
But there wasn't a written thing, right?
I thought you had put one together.
I wonder, I don't remember 25.
I was not on the commission in 2014, so I don't know.
Nor was I.
But we don't have like, we have the tree policy up on the, like, written out.
We don't have a written policy. Where did you get this from, Rebecca?
This is completely copied and plagiarized from Weston.
A fine town.
Oh yeah, you can see it still says Weston in there. Yeah, so
Hey,
it's just,
make sure
it's just the
Weston-
first blush, like a template that we can look at, see how you're happy with it,
Yeah, let's
see
look
what
at
you like,
that.
what you don't like.
Can we look at this and then talk about it at the next meeting?
Yes, please.
Yes, as long as you promise me, you will look at it before the next meeting.
Yep.
We
and
promise.
for the next meeting, though, that should be an agenda item.
Totally fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And wait, do you have this? Is this something that you guys that you'll circulate that we can?
I did. I sent it to you guys, but I
Yeah,
sent it late.
Along with the other one, just before the meeting.
Right. And just, you know, if we have time, great. And I actually prefer the way we're doing it now, which is here's the introduction, here's the idea. Take it home with you. Put in your comments, put in your thoughts. We can
Rebecca,
amend.
before I forget, did you send the invitation for the site visit on Tuesday? You'll do that?
No, not yet. I haven't done that. I can do that though.
Thank you.
Sometimes I
Okay, so
do.
the last thing is amended orders of the standard order of conditions.
Let's do that next time too. Did
Yeah,
you guys?
please. Please.
So
please.
let's look through it because I still feel like some of this stuff as we go through, there's 60 conditions in there.
Yeah, ridiculous. So I guess I had a
40.
suggestion, and again,
Yeah.
I will go through it, that we have we have a one form that the conditions apply to all projects, and then say, this applies to commercial projects only, and then say, these apply to residential products, filings, because it seems to me, we don't want to include, there's so many things that you don't want to include if it's just, if it's a residential project. I mean, you know, it's a house.
Yeah.
So that we just break it down in, you know, we can have one document, but it's divided into sections.
Or we can have two, and when you vote, you can say standard
Right.
residential.
Right. We took,
Condition.
doesn't that
That's
make
a good idea.
sense?
I
Yeah,
guess
so
I'd
we
be
have two
curious,
different
how
forms.
different would they actually be?
Well, there are a lot of things that
Well,
don't,
let's look at it. Let's look at it when we.
We'll look at it. But I mentioned that because I suggest that when we're looking at it, you keep that in mind.
I think this is, like, I'm looking forward to going through this with a little detail, but I think it's a hard thing to start at
I
9:40.
agree. I could not agree with you more.
Mhm.
Could not agree with you more.
And I
Well,
would like to spend a little time on this because we talk about it all the time and
Is it possible to put these things at the beginning of the hearing, or no, we have to put them at the end?
No, I can assign them a time at 7. I don't
The
see
only
when-
problem is, you know, we'd have a hard stop for the first hearing.
Well, yeah, and again, and also, then all the other people will be there.
They have to listen to it, right? They
Right.
have to listen. So it's not
Never
fair.
mind. That's not a good idea.
But we've got to figure out a way to be able to get to things before 9:30 at night because people just, because
Yeah.
it's just gonna get second, it's just gonna get short shrift.
Yeah, and maybe we
Can
pick
have a separate
one,
meeting.
we pick,
Mhm.
we pick one, not try to do all three at the same
Right,
meeting.
right.
Right.
Pick one.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
we only
yes.
had one meeting
Not to
this
bring
month.
up
I think
every-
that's why
not
it's
to
so
bring-
big.
Make a laundry list of things and then
Right.
I like that idea a lot. Let's just pick and choose, try to limit the number of these things that we bring up at each meeting so we can give more attention to it. All right.
Here's a thought
Okay,
though,
so
before you move on. Wait, the
Yes.
next meeting is 3 weeks away.
Yes.
So you got two things going on. One is we have extra time to be able to show that we've looked at all of these things before. And if you've submitted me comments, I will edit them and get them back out before, so then we could look at more of a final draft. So we have more time because it's 3 weeks away, but because it's 3 weeks away, you're probably going to have more things on the agenda because things are going to accumulate. So that's sort of like this meeting too. We've only had one in July, so you're going to have a little bit more because we only had one. So as far as it looks like, the next meeting is very similar to what we just had. So, but we also have extra time to go through it all. So I'm just throwing that out there.
All right. Sounds good.
Alrighty. we'll look at it and get your comments away before August 1st, that's that.
Mhm.
But don't put
Okay.
all three things down on August 1st. That's all I have to say. Please don't
Don't
put
put
all,
all three things down?
Don't.
put one thing down.
Okay.
Well, you
Do
can
the
put
native
one
plant
and then
policy on
say,
August 1.
if
Get it
time
out of the way.
permits.
What if you guys have all submitted a lot of comments and edits and it looks very final?
Okay, you know what? You can put it on the agenda, but let's be flexible as
I
to
like
whether,
it.
but whether or not we actually do it.
Yes.
I don't mind, but we're not doing a lot. I like that better. Because it gets us thinking and talking and
Yes,
getting,
Yeah.
yes.
even this
Yeah,
brief
that's fine.
conversation.
There is something to be said for keeping the pending matters sort of
Yes.
on the agenda and then, but to be selective. I like that idea a
Mm-hmm.
lot. I do like to have a list. I'm a list person. Even if we don't do everything on the list every
Yeah.
night. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything
Yeah,
else,
we're-
Rebecca?
We're approaching 3 hours now.
This is nothing for us. Come on.
I know, but,
Well, I don't want to do it either.
Bob, I'm ready to make the motion. I'm
Can I
ready.
just mention one thing? Can I just mention
yes,
one thing?
Judy.
They, on August 10th, it's going to be the overview of the open space plan for the permitting boards. And it's going to be part of the Environmental Sustainability Committee meeting. Because there didn't seem to be a lot of interest from the planning board and ZBA and holding a separate meeting. So we're just going to jump into their meeting. So if anyone's interested in
Mhm.
hearing about the open space plan, hearing the overview from the consultants, it'll be 7 o'clock on August 10th.
And the other thing we have going is don't we have the site walk on July 25th with the DPW? I mean, I'm sorry, DEP.
Oh, wait. I will try to make that. I know, Rebecca, you said you wanted as many of us as possible there.
I think it's better. I think it shows
Yes.
you guys, your involvement. I know it's a challenging time. I'll be there and Elaine will be there.
Excellent.
I plan on
Um,
being there as well.
Yep, Haley's there. So that's all
What
I
day
got so
what day of the
far.
week is that?
Tuesday morning at 9 a.m.
All right,
At least it's first thing in the morning. That's good.
yeah.
First thing in the morning for who?
Well, for me, first thing in the morning is 7 o'clock, but
Yeah,
again, it's-
same here.
Right, so,
All right.
but at least it's not in the middle of the day. How's that? I mean, it's a little bit less in the middle of the day
Right.
for some of us. So,
All right.
yes, that's.
Anybody else make that?
I'll try.
I mean, extremely unlikely I can make that. I'd
Yeah,
say
as I said,
there's
I'll
no
try
way.
too, unless something unusual comes up.
I'll be
Awesome.
there.
Awesome. Oh, good.
So Jimmy and Haley for sure.
Mhm.
I'm away
Yeah, Teresa.
that from the end of next week into the following. Sorry.
Yeah, Peter
I will
Teresa
not be.
possibly.
Yeah. Alrighty, now Peter can make the motion.
Judy, you all set?
I'm all set. Thank you.
All right, Rebecca, you all set?
I am. Thank you.
All right, Peter, let it go.
Motion.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Okay, all in favor? Jim,
Yeah.
Haley,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
and I also vote to adjourn. All right, good night, everybody.
Take
night,
care.
all.
See you
Take
care.
on Tuesday.
Next time.